Hello and welcome to today's historic Best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on Landfall Aggro. Landfall Aggro is basically is what you would think from the name if you happen to have played Magic for a long time. Landfall Aggro is an aggressive deck that has lots of landfall triggers, or ways to play some extra lands, as well as just, some pretty solid aggressive creatures that can also apply pressure on top of all of the lands you're getting for various value, in addition to being able to play your spells. We have cards like Sazh's Chocobo and Hellhound on turn 1 to get the landfall aggressive creature train a-rollin'. And then in the 2 slots we have so many landfall creatures that we would be here all day if I was trying to go through each and every single one. We also have cards that, like we talked about, give us ways to play additional lands this turn so that we can make just more landfall triggers, and generally from there, more damage and more aggression. Atarka's Command and Explorer are ways to do that. You also have World Soul's Rage, all of which are cards that let you play extra land drops and then also some other benefit. Explorer is kind of boring, just draws a card, but it's good. Atarka's Command is like any other command and has good utility. And World Soul's Rage is a card that I knew I wanted to do something with ever since I opened it. I could just never find the proper home for it. And this is a great list for this. It can be a kind of Banefire effect over the top. It can be removal. It can also just be, a couple, like 2 Explorers in a turn or something crazy. Or what have you. And beyond the landfall creatures that, where it's going to do the damage, and the ways to get extra land drops, like always, we have some glue holding the deck together. A couple Tectonic Reformations and a couple Chandra Torch of Defiances is just fairly good cards. Reformation can be card draw, can also get some lands into our graveyard for the aforementioned World Soul Rage, and Chandra is just a really, really good, probably, honestly, if I'm being entirely honest, in my opinion, Chandra Torch of Defiance might be the best mono red glue card in Historic at a minimum, but I would argue on the client as a whole. And beyond all of that, we have the land base, which is somewhat self-explanatory but has some spicy things that we'll talk about in a second. We have Stomping Grounds, Copperline Gorges, just lands come to play untapped on turn 1, since ideally you want to have a 1-drop and get the train rolling right off the gate. This particular list, as you can see, has a higher density of basics than a lot of my lists do. This is basically because of Prismatic Vista. We also, by the way, a couple bit of tech lands. Din for good creature land, Boseiju for naturalized style effects. Anywho, the spicy land here is 3 copies of Prismatic Vista. This is basically a fetch land that searches for basics. Fetch lands being a land that comes into play, you pay some life, you tap and sack the card to go find a land of some description. Prismatic Vista is the only one that is legal in the Historic format. But Vista does give us a way in the land base to not only just, fix our land base for whatever color we might happen to need, which is nice, but effectively functions as 2 landfall triggers all by itself. Which again, any one of our various creatures that have landfall love to have as many lands interplay on a turn as possible. And again, Prismatic Vista is 2. Yeah, and also paying 1 life can suck, but we're an aggressive list. We've kind of accepted the reality that if we don't win by like turn 5 or 6, we're going to be in for a rough time. Sideboard, pretty self-explanatory sideboard cards. Scavenging Ooze for graveyards, Rampaging Ferocidon for life gain decks, a couple Reclamation Sages for a naturalize on a body, some Heroic Interventions if you're going to run into a lot of sweeper heavy matchups or a lot of removal heavy matchups, single copy of Center Vines, hates on some non-creatures, hates on some artifacts and enchantments, Brotherhood's End. Sometimes, even in an aggressive deck, you gotta have sweepers. But this is a sweeper that has some extra modality, not only with the artifacts, but can also deal with planeswalkers. Fade from History, another sweeper, but this sweeper cares about artifacts and enchantments, which is not a lot of our deck, so we don't really care. But sorry, it's none of our lists, so we're never really gonna fade our own board. And we have 2 Chandra Awakened Infernos against a lot of counterspell heavy list. Can also be an additional sweeper if you need it to be. Granted, very expensive. But this is really against counterspell heavy matchups that are, especially game 2, are going to bring in loads of answers to your aggressive list. And having a Chandra to sort of out-mind game them a step is nice. With all that out of the way, we'll now go on to game number 1. And don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, and if you have any sort of questions like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll respond to what I see. With all that out of the way, we now finally go on to game number 1. And game number 1 with our Landfall Aggro list. Okay, play first. God, we're not going to keep that. Sure. Okay, sure. Mulligan. It's a 1-lander. That's too many lands, not enough creatures. We're actually going to mulligan this also. That's enough of a win that we just take it. Command and Explore aren't the most helpful right now. It might seem weird to, like... What are you barking about, dog? Anywho, it might seem weird to keep in a game where our opponents are running a 200-card list. Is running their Battle of Wits, or whatever that card's called, list. But it does happen every once in a while in the format, in my experience. And as you can see, we're not in the low ranks. We're a notch above Platinum, so we're in Diamond. So, you know, the fact that it's still here is kind of interesting. Anywho, land. We'll play Bristly Bill and a cub. We'll play cat. What's a cat? We'll play cat, get the landfall triggers rolling. Oh, cub first. Then we play mountain. Again, getting the landfall triggers, and in this case, extra counters. Just trying to squeeze damage where we can. Hopefully get under whatever it is our opponent's doing, which I'm not certain of at all, but okay. Maybe Yorion. Solar Transformer is a card. Okay. In the meantime, Brushfire. We will play a Stomping Grounds, pay the 2 tapped, or pay the 2 to come in untapped. We'll do the cub next. Do want to try and spread out our damage a little bit, playing second Brushfire Elemental. We want to spread out the buffs on our damage sources a bit, so that if they have a solitary removal spell, we haven't literally put all of our eggs into one basket. Now, our opponent could have a sweeper, and life could suck. Very possible. But this is one of those moments of, you'll hear me talk about it all the time on the channel. Again, not my idea. But we made our opponent have to have it. Whatever it was. And sorry that the client's exploding. We'll go ahead and press done. We learned so little, we might as well just run the list again. But again, we'll talk about this for 2 seconds, then I'll go on to it. We made our opponent have it. Whether it be a removal spell, or a sweeper, or just something to impact our board. We made our opponent have to have some answer, otherwise we would have won the game. I maintain that it's like probably one of the most foundational skills to playing any card game, and probably any strategy game, of sometimes you just gotta pull the trigger, and if they got answers, they got answers. We love this hand. This is a fantastic hand, and it's much more so what you're looking for in an opener. Got a 1-drop, a 2-drop, some extra landfall triggers, in theory, And Chandra is just a nice little curve topper here. And is going to play her role of glue card. Lovely. My brain froze for a second. Play the Hellhound. One thing to know, Hellhound might seem weird, but one, I literally don't think there's any other landfall creatures at 1 cost that are in the format from my cursory look at it. So Hellhound might seem weird, but you know, in a deck like this, you can do some damage. And if you give it a solitary counter from either Bristly Bill or the Cub, it can attack even in a vacuum with no land drops, which is nice. Play a Gorge. Hellhound gets big. They have options. We're going to play the Brushfire. Just going to, again, make our opponent have some sort of answer. Sorry, what is that? Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that art for Reliquary Tower. Okay. I thought it was like a command tower or something, and I was like, pardon me? What do they do? Oh, they're doing cute stuff. Gotcha. Why is the list so big then? That seems odd. Seems really odd. Cool. That's cool. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna play. It's not. This is not an interesting turn, but we're just gonna play lands and go face. Actually, I'm gonna play Explore in the off chance I draw another land. We didn't, so we look like a goob, but my logic was sound. In the meantime, Autarchus Command. 3 to the top, and then we'll do a board buff for us. They're gonna block, as they should. But we've also... I am sorry. Okay, so they have to have... They're doing something. They're gonna reanimate this Ulamog. As I've... Nope. That... Cool. That's a thing. They're going... Okay. I might... Is this a Final Fantasy card back? Okay. Well, you have to remove the Brushfire. If I get a land... Well, okay, that's not fair. Hang on, let me cook here for a second. Can't block because it's 2 or less power, so you can't chump block the elemental. Okay. 6, 6. Sorry. 3 and 3 is 6. 1, 7. Okay, we have lethal. This is... Hang on, let me make sure auto tapper isn't going to screw me here. 3 damage at the top, and we do the buff again, which is really the most common thing you're going to do with your Autarchus commands. But this should give us the damage we need, since they now cannot block, to squeeze a win in. If you, not to toot my own horn, but we are on my YouTube channel, so I'll go ahead and plug myself. There are much more efficient ways to do some Reanimator list. Not only in just the raw amount of cards. With 200 cards in your deck, it's going to be functionally impossible to like reliably draw anything unless your deck's nothing but tutors top to bottom, which clearly it wasn't. Okay, well, I didn't mean to do that. But my other point, other than that level of difficulty, is that not only are there more efficient ways to do it in terms of deck size, they clearly weren't missing cards. They didn't run a list like that because they were making budget switches. They were just running a really thick list for no reason. And if you're gonna run a thick list, like, make it for a reason or a purpose. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your time. But I mean, if it makes you happy, I guess, what are you gonna do? Anywho, with all that out of the way, we'll go on now to game number 2. And game number 2. Really fast. 1, we're going to keep this hand because it's great. I forgot the other thing I was talking about. Again, there are better ways to do Reanimator in regards to our opponent's last list. Why I brought up, I don't mean to toot my own horn. Why I was saying that was because I have Reanimator lists on the channel that are much more consistent and will allow you to do the cool, flashy thing that you want to do. Anywho, keep a land drop and a Chocobo on one, or a landfall creature on one. Happens to be Chocobo here. We also have Prismatic Vista. Tifa Lockhart's pretty good. We might actually play Tifa next turn. Okay. Okay. Is it like a mono red list? We don't block. That would be absolutely silly. I would not be surprised if they have some sort of answer, like a shock or something. We shall see, though. In the meantime, we will actually play the Tifa. I am almost certain that they have some sort of red removal spell they're going to use on our creature. Sorry? Opera Love Song. Next on top 2, you may play those cards until next. That's cool. I mean, okay, now you have the aforementioned burn spells. Why? I mean, I guess it's not a terrible card for mono red. The Heartfire seems odd. Oh, okay. I guess the Opera Love Song second ability, in this case, does target the mouse, and therefore triggers Valiant. So, okay, that's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, 100% that's what's going to happen all day, as it should. Probably going to play, yeah, the hero. Someone would counter, right? Yeah. Would love to draw more lands here. That's fantastic. What are we going to do? Okay, so we do Vista first. This is kind of going to stink, just because our opponent is gonna block, as they should. But the best part about going against a opposing mono red list, they're not gonna have a whole lot of like hard destruction abilities once a creature gets sufficiently large. All that to say, play Explore, hopefully find some more stuff. Don't, sadly. I think I'll play the Savotender thing. Cactus Boy. Yes, we could have maybe played another Explore and tried to get lucky and get big hits there. Very fair. All of that is true. But we're in a good spot. I don't think we need to be silly about it. Alright. Fair. Like a red deck wins thing. Very cool, very cool. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I forgot that equip abilities like count towards Valiant. La la, very cool. If they full swing, we might be in some trouble. I don't think we block them. We just accept the fact that like we gotta really hit hard. I don't. Am I crazy? What's the other ability of this? Yeah, it dies. It gets really big and scary. 4, 5, 6, 7, kind of 8. I think we've lost this, and we might need to play the more controlling role. So we're just going to try and go out in a blaze of glory. Land drop. Explore. Hopefully we find a land. Not a land. Tarkus Command. Sure, I guess. 3 damage. Board buff. Ignoring the fact that they could actually eat it and be fine. Luckily they're not gonna. Although with the Corey Steel Cutter, it's very easy to get this thing back online as a creature, so. That'll kind of do it. Okay, that's it. Well played. Good game. Our opponent clearly has it, whether they realize it or not. I'm going to give them the win, because they earned it fair and square. are going to have to. However, kind of transition into a control lead deck and like lose a lot of the landfall stuff. Brotherhood's End is pretty good. Chandra's pretty good as a sweeper. Ooze to stabilize. We don't need explore effects. World Soul Rage. Explore is gone. A couple of Tarkus commands can also be gone. Still gives us some go over the top potential. Do we keep the Hellhound? Kinda. Maybe, maybe 2 Hellhounds out and 2 Ferocidons in. Hi, Wiggles. Hi, buddy. You wanna come hang out with me? Yeah, Bubby. Can I have a pet? Can I have a Scritch? Baby Jet? He's a good boy. Oh, thank you. I love you. Again, play first because we have a brain. Sure. That's fine. We can do a similar play as to the first game, I should say. Chocobo, play some lands, get big and scary. Chocobo can always apply pressure or just to be a big scary blocker if we need it to be. If it doesn't die, right here. Dies right here. I think, honestly, Burst Lightning is a really smart card in terms of like a budget selection at a common. That's like... I really like that as like a common burn spell in a list like this. I think it's really good. It's fascinating. Anywho, I'm actually gonna... Yeah, I'm gonna pull the trigger. Sazh getting rid of 1 Corey Steelcutter. The Professor is... Well, I don't know about Standard. I don't play Standard. But the Professor was right in that this list... Or this card would, like, be popular when see play. And I guess if we're being fair, while we're talking about the dear old Professor, because I, too, sometimes don't come up with ideas entirely in a vacuum. He did make a video about, I think, a standard landfall list that had like a lot of similar flavor to this. I just made a historic version of that. Just so we're all aware. I think we do play the Ferocidon. If we're going to go a little wide, try and punish him for doing so. They haven't shown to have a whole lot of 3 damage, like lightning strike style abilities. Or Braid. Braid's another fantastic card that's like really budget friendly that a list like this would enjoy very much. Okay. I have to do this in a certain way, don't I? Oh well. Brotherhood's End. We're just going to take the sweeper when we can get it. It's one of those. You could argue that it might get more value later, but this is one of those burn the hand, tune the bush things. Play our Cactus Boy afterwards, if nothing else, to just be a blocker. And, you know, it can also start to chip away at our opponent. Thundering Rebuke. Okay, you're kind of losing the plot here. It's fine, but I think there are better cards. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure, you killed it, good on you. But like, it's the definition of overkill. Okay, I don't need both Prismatic Vistas right now. Although, I'm gonna play one. The off chance I find a Chandra off the top, I want to be able to actually play the card. And be able to just down tick it to a sweeper. They haven't shown any elementals, so we're just gonna assume that's gonna be an actual sweeper. I did look at this card through preview season. Beginning of combat. Target creature you control 2-0 until end of turn. End of combat. Player was dealt 6 or more damage this turn. Transform enchantment and attach. Okay. I don't like doing this, to go this far out of my way to like kill a creature. But we're low and they might just win and kill us. Okay. That's cool. Second spell you cast, 1 less celebration. Beginning combat, 2 non-land permanents entered battlefield in your control. Target creature gets things. I was talking mad shit about the rebuke, but it might win our opponent the game, so maybe I can have a nice big slice of humble pie. Maybe learn to shut up. It's clearly working, and our opponent's probably going to win unless we draw another sweeper. Exactly. And, like, nothing else. Oh, fucking land. Oh, well, good game from our opponent. I didn't want to... Because what we brought in were more expensive cards, like a Ferocidon, like Brotherhood's End, and especially Chandra. I didn't want to cut lands to get, like... to bring in some of our answers, because we were clearly going to need the land count to get to the more expensive spells anyway. So, but you do have to accept the fact that in a landfall list, you are going to run more lands than a normal list might. So that you have an increased chance of that happening, where also that can just happen during the course of any game of Magic, and the game is better for it, might I add. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And if you have any sort of questions, like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive questions or comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. One last thing before we go. The deck is a lot of fun. I'll probably come back to a Landfall style aggro list, but Landfall as an actual mechanic is kind of sparingly used. So we'd have to get a certain density of new Landfall cards, or maybe a couple really exciting ones. But I'll come back to the list, and I think you should try it at home. Now, thank you all so much for watching. And remember to stay cool out there, because my god, it's hot as hell. Anywho, bye-bye.